Hi, I decided to go live and answer some Q&As because there are a ton of them today, and so I just want to answer a few of them. So let's see. It was a good one I just saw. How to connect to a difficult mother-in-law. I think society has taught us that we have to have difficult or we have to force relationships with people and be in close contact with them, even if we don't have anything in common with them. We don't like each other. The person is mean. And in my post from today, I talked about, not liking people and some people not liking us. And I understand that with in-law situations, it can be very difficult to understand that perhaps a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, or any type of extended family relationship will not be healthy. But there are some times where we don't need to force ourselves to be in difficult relationships, where we don't need to force ourselves to be in relationships with people who are mean to us, who are abusive, who don't like us. So as you're thinking about being in relationship with a difficult person, I wonder, what is the benefit for you of having this relationship? Can we coexist without having, forced relationships with people? We can sit in the same room with people without us being closely connected and even have some lighthearted conversation. But it may be helpful to let go of the expectation that a difficult person will become what you need just because this is what you want. They have to be on the same page with you. They may not see themselves as difficult. You may see them as difficult based on what your needs are. So it's really important that you're clear about what the relationship could be without trying to force it to be something that it is not, with a person who is not working with you to build a healthier relationship. I hope that answered your question. It would be the same for any sort of relationship that we are trying to force. How do I like my difficult coworker? How do I like my difficult boss? How do I like my difficult blah, 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 blah? I think that what's so difficult about them? Like, what is this behavior? Are they unhealthy? Are they abusive? Like, what's going on there? And really dissecting that. And from there, you can decide if this is a relationship that you can even have with a person, because some relationship qualities the other person just doesn't possess, and we're trying to force it because of the title, mother-in-law, sister, blah, 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 whatever it is. So be clear about what can actually happen in the situation. Not necessarily, this is what I want, it must happen, but this could actually happen. We on a family path today. So sister has a lifelong habit of not respecting boundaries, including with her kids. Talking doesn't work. Lifelong pattern. So she was born without boundaries. When people have issues with respecting boundaries, my first go-to is, have we actually implemented a boundary? If we have actually implemented the boundary, are we issuing a consequence? Are we following up on what our boundary is? Or are we simply saying to them, you didn't do it this one time, I'm done, forget about my boundaries, you never listen? It's really healthy with people to clearly state what your boundary is. Do not assume that somebody knows your boundary because y'all were born into the same family. Everybody in the world should have the same issue that you have and all these other things. Very clearly say to them what your boundary is. Give them the opportunity to honor it. It may be helpful with a difficult person or a habitual boundary violator to let them know what it looks like to respect the boundary, because sometimes we'll go into situations with people and we'll say things like, I want you to be nicer. We're saying this to a mean person, right? They don't know what nicer is. They think they're being nice. And so you have to be very clear about, I want you to say please and thank you. I want you to hold the door if I'm walking. But you have to be very clear with people, because our assumption is that they understand this stuff and that they should be able to pick up on it. But they are the person who's disrespecting the boundary. So I would start by just maybe reinventing your boundaries a bit, figuring out if you're actually like setting the boundary, you're being clear, you're giving consequences. And then from there, you have a choice about, how you choose to show up in relationships with people. You can or you can't, and that is your choice. How to leave a toxic relationship. I know he is not right for me, although I wish he was. Wishing and hoping doesn't give you longevity. And the sooner that we realize that something is not for us, the easier our lives could be. Now, it's not easy to move on, but I think that we can really improve our lives just by acknowledging that this thing is not working. And it really helps for us to have sort of an idea of what works for us and what doesn't, and to notice these things sooner in a relationship before we get too attached to folks, because sometimes we'll just keep people around for comfort, or because we like, going to the movies with them, or because we've become accustomed to whatever. And I see someone saying simply walk away. I think if it was simple, we would do it. But I would like to say hardly walk away. Sometimes things are really hard and we still have to do those things. But if you know someone isn't right for you, I wonder how can you honor yourself in that discovery of your knowing. Oh, this is a fun one. What do you do when your friend always copies you? Notice it. Hey, I had that too. Did you see? I just notice it. I think our friends are very attracted to what we're attracted to. Like, I have, a friend who has about 3 pairs of the same glasses that I have. And when she has a pair, I'll say, girl, where you get them from? And I have a pair, girl, where you get them from? And we're okay with that. I understand that there are times when people are doing things, and it can be annoying. I think what helps is when a person is very clear that I directly got this from you. The only time I felt bothered is when people have pretended that it wasn't my idea or it wasn't from me. It's like, I just found this on the thing. It's like, that's my exact thing. So maybe talking to your friend about recognizing it, if that would be helpful for you. And if you really have a problem with her copying you or him copying you, perhaps just letting them know that, I try to be really unique in my presentation, and I understand that we will like some of the same things, but it's just quite coincidental that everything I seem to like, you like as well. And then I will wonder, are you giving them some sort of freedom to like and own all of the things that you own. If you're, you're giving away the stores and you're telling them, when you acquired something, that may put somebody in a position to go and buy it. So maybe on your side, a self boundary could be not sharing all the details of, what you have and what you're doing. And then in that way, that person may not copy. And to some extent, it could be a competitive reaction to things. So you really have to use your discernment to figure out if this is just some flattery level copying, or if this is some sort of competitive thing that they're engaged in. So it is, it's interesting. I don't have enough detail here to say which one it is, but it's very important that you are clear about what you'd like to see happen, and talk to them about, just some different ways of presenting it. Like I said, it definitely does not matter to everyone if someone is copying something. We certainly have things that we love. I think, there are certain things where it's like, I don't care if we all have the same color lipstick, the same color eyeglasses, we all wear it differently. So it really depends on the situation and a lot of background information. But talk. That will help for sure. We on the friend zone now. How to deal with a friend who always brings up your past mistakes. Tell them to stop. Sometimes people bring up things because we have not told them not to. And again, this is one of these things we might consider common sense. Oh my gosh, like they should know that it's not appropriate to bring this up. And what they should know is typically what you know and others do not, because they're doing it. So if you want them to do something different, it makes so much sense for you to let them know that you would prefer if they not talk about what you used to do in 7th grade and the shorts you wore on the first day of school and whatever else they're talking about. I don't know. But you can let them know that you're uncomfortable with the conversation and you'd like to, not have them bring up stuff. Someone asked here in the comments, what to do about a complaining coworker. So, work is where we spend the majority of our time, right? 40 hours a week, some of us, even more, 60 hours a week. And it doesn't have to be a completely pleasant space, but it's certainly more difficult when you are working alongside someone who is a constant chronic complainer. The air quality bothered them, walking bothered them, just everything is a bother. You get to decide what you want to listen to. And you get to decide that in a way that can be self-honoring and also kind to other people. There are many things that we could say, such as, oh, I'm on a deadline, I want to wrap this thing up, I don't have any time to talk. Another thing you might be able to say is, you seem to have this issue more than once. Have you ever thought about, talking to the person about it or talking to a professional about it? So redirecting them. Sometimes when people are complaining, they're not aware. We assume they're aware, but a lot of times they are not clear that what they're doing is complaining. They may see it as venting. In my book, I do have a section about how to handle people who are chronically complaining, and also what is the difference between like processing, venting, and constant complaining. But sometimes people are unaware, and it can be very helpful for you to just kind of point it out. Like, I notice that sometimes when you come here, it's this conversation about whatever. Have you ever thought about blank? Just give people a resource that is not you. You can really remove yourself from the equation. I love being able to say to people, well, they didn't talk to me about that, because it really does help to just have some boundaries around what people can talk to you about. If we seem interested in all the things, they will keep talking to us about all the things. Immediately upon people bringing up things that I don't like to talk about, I don't really know anything about, you can let them know. You can say, like, I'm not watching the Olympics. I'm not watching the Olympics. I don't really know what's going on here. I really can't add anything to this conversation. So you can shift the conversation in a way that makes more sense. And also, one thing that I think we do constantly with people who complain is, here's a very dangerous question to ask a chronic complainer. Are you ready? How are you doing? Don't do it. Don't ask them, how are you doing? It's just not a good idea, because you know it won't be good. Don't even ask. Start the conversation in a different way. Talk about something that's more lighthearted. Stop asking questions that you do not want the answer to. I don't want to know how everybody is doing. I don't. There are some people that I will not ask them, how are you doing? Because I don't want to hear the answer. I don't. And so, because I already know how you're doing. It's terrible. Your seatbelt was too tight. I don't want the answer. So I will not be asking that question. And then once you realize, if you ask them, how was your weekend? That goes bad. Don't ask them anymore, how was your weekend? You have to figure out what you can talk to this person about. And it might just be socks. I don't know. But in a situation with a coworker, you do have to share the space. It's probably best that it's not, some traumatic space to be in with them. So figure out what you can talk about. Perhaps they like candles. Maybe they're a plant person. I don't know, but there's something on the earth that they won't complain about. But be sure that you're not asking them triggering questions that prompt them to complain, because this is all you know. How are you doing? How was your weekend? How was your holiday? You don't want to know everybody's holiday. You don't want to know about... There are some things that just will trigger them. So be very careful about the sorts of things that you bring up with people who are chronic complainers. And so sometimes people ask me, how do I pick questions? There is no rhyme or reason. Like, I'm literally just scrolling and I land on one. That's how I pick questions. I know it's a sophisticated system. I get this question so much. I have a post where I answered this, but I'll talk about it a little bit. I think we decide most things by trying things. And I'm not saying that, we should go be an astronaut, be an engineer, be this, be that. But how do you know that you shouldn't be a therapist? Overthinking sometimes really gets you out of the mode of just trying different things that could be good with you. If there is a career that you're interested in, it's always helpful to intern. It's always helpful to job shadow. It's always helpful to interview a person who is doing the job. That's a wonderful way to start thinking about something that you want to do. You could have thought you wanted to be a vet your entire life, but when you go and you hear them saying, we have to put this dog down, that's a part of your job. If that's something you don't like, you may have to figure out a different career path. So it is really helpful to just start things, practice, get some experience without committing to a program and these sorts of things, and figuring out if that's something that you want to do, because you don't know sometimes until you really get into it. And so job shadowing, interviewing, those are wonderful ways to figure out what is next for you. And I thought that question was different. That's why I said, I have a post on this. I don't have a post on that. I have a post on something different. Do you have any resources for someone dating a person who has a child? Um, I don't have a book resource, but I have a human resource. And the human resource is, I believe that most of us are child experts. Why? We used to be kids. We know what it feels like to be a child. And so anytime you're interacting with a child, tap into yourself. Tap into what feels good to a 7-year-old because you used to be one. What doesn't feel good to a 7-year-old because you used to be one. You really have to treat kids as human beings, and I'm sure there is a book out there that will help you to understand how to engage with a partner's child. But really the thing is just tapping into being a human. Kids are no different than what you were as a kid. Now things are different. There are different technologies and these sorts of things, but you have to walk into it with a spirit of kindness. This is a new situation. Kids have all sorts of feelings that they are unable to give words to. And when I say words, they may dislike you just based on loyalty. Like all sorts of things that we do not know that's going on in their world. But just remember what it was like to be a kid, to meet a new person. Perhaps you had a situation where your parents were dating someone. So just be open to really tapping into what it was like to be a kid and meeting them where they are, not pushing anything. Someone mentioned go to a therapist. Yes, I think it's a wonderful idea to go to a therapist and just talk about things as they come up with this child. But you already have so many tools inside of you because you used to be a kid. And so so much. I'm often surprised at how often people without children will say, well, I don't know anything about kids. And I think, wow, you must have got here when you were 20. Which is not true, because we all know something about kids. Even if we don't have them, we used to be one. And so that gives me a lot of information. I remember what it felt like to start a new school, to not have a good day in school, to make myself proud, to make my parents proud. These are all things, to not like somebody, to not be liked. All of these things that you experience as a child, you can just tap into that stuff. And I think that would be very helpful. If I find a book, I will post it in my stories. If anyone has a book, please DM it to me. But I think the most helpful thing you can do is allow kids to just warm up to the situation and be a supportive adult. And that's the role for right now. Okay, I'm going to take one more question. There are so many questions about mother-in-laws. I started with mother-in-laws, so hopefully some of that can be helpful. This is a good one. How to make someone I hurt forgive me and get back with me after I apologize and change. I just want to sit with the make someone forgive me. So we cannot make anyone do anything. I think there are mistakes that we can recover from and some that we cannot. I always hope that your biggest mistake is, like dyeing your hair too light of a brown or something. Like, I want that to be your biggest life mistake and not this sort of stuff that we can't bounce back from. But, we have things we can't bounce back from. And it sounds like this might be one. Even though you've changed, people don't have to accept you. People don't have to allow you back into their life. Perhaps they've changed too. And a part of their change is not wanting to be in a space with a person who caused them some pain. And I know that's very difficult to deal with, but it does happen sometimes. And when we change, it's great, and it could be good in a future relationship, but it may not be something that's possible with this person that you want to be with, because people have choice. And someone asked earlier, what is freedom? Choices. And one of their choices may not be to re-engage. And how do you start to accept that you did something to someone and they don't want to re-engage with you? I think you just have to sit with that. That there are some things, the details for my sweater. This is such a therapist sweater, right? I love to wear a little sweater and my glasses. It really makes me feel like a therapist. This sweater is from Abercrombie. So I think that, yeah, you have to accept that even though you've changed, a part of that may be good for you, and you can use all of those changes in the future. But at this particular time, you may not be able to get back into a relationship with that person, and you have to accept that. One of the really hard, I have the same cardigan. Yay! I hope I said the right store, because I think it's right. I think it's right. A really hard thing is accepting that you made a mistake. And it's so beautiful to see people accept that and really acknowledge the ways in which they've messed up. And it's even better when you acknowledge that there are just some things that you cannot repair. I think about like breaking something. Let's say I break my laptop today. I can't repair it. Some things just can't be repaired. Perhaps I could go buy a new one. Perhaps I could pay someone else to do it. Maybe. I don't know. But some things just can't be repaired. There are things that we can break, we can mess up, and there is nothing to recoup those things. What I hope for you is that you forgive yourself faster. And that's something that I have been practicing real hard. Because I used to be like, I can't believe I did that. And I'd be like, yeah, oh well, lost it. Yeah, I'll find another one. Yeah, like... I just want to forgive myself faster, because I am going to make mistakes. We are human. We will make mistakes, and hopefully we'll get better. We'll change. And as we're, getting better and changing, we forgive ourselves faster, because I have to sit with me all day. And so it's not a good space to be in for me to just be mad at myself. So just forgiving myself faster. And it really does work to say that I've made a mistake and some things are not repairable, and I hope to do better next time. I learned you learn a lot from messing up. You really do. You learn so much that can be applied to future situations. Not this one, but ones in the future, because there are some things that we cannot repair. And I've gotten better. I hope that you get better at forgiving yourself faster and not pushing people to be in situations they don't want to be in because you're ready now. So thank you all for this. I will save this. As I said at the beginning, I just want to hop on and answer some Q&As because there were so many today. I cannot get to all of them, but this is my favorite part of the week. I'm super consistent with it. I really like doing the Q&A, so I always try to do as many as possible. And next week I will have some more Q&As. I might type out a few more. It's early. I don't have a busy day. We'll see, but definitely want to do a few more here. So thank you and have a good week.